Welcome. I'm Jai Baker. I'm founder of and wealth curator of Luminous Wealth. And I have the pleasure of being with me here today, Jen Nolan, and she's the founder of Remission Nutrition. And she's the nutritional team for Luminous Wealth and our clients. And we're in Jupiter, Florida, and she's just traveled in here from Colorado via meeting her niece in Boca Raton this week. And we're so glad to have you here. And how was your travels?
Thank you. It's been great. It's a little warmer than I'm used to, or maybe it's more humid than I'm used to, but it's
Of
been great.
course.
Yeah, it's been nice to be here with family, and I'm so excited to be here with you. Thank
Great.
you. Yeah.
Well, meeting Ruben is great to have him along with you today. Yeah, he's a great
Yes,
guy.
he is.
Well, here at Luminous Well, we focus on 8 major aspects of our clients and their lives. Um, and simply what we've done is we've taken the word wealth to its etymology. The word wealth back in 1250 AD was weal, W-E-A-L, and it meant prosperity, health, and well-being. And then in the 1400s, the Dutch, the great traders and global businesses that they had, narrowed the meaning of it down to just money or currency. And we've brought that forward into our society now. But you can't manage money in a silo. All of these major aspects that we work with have an interrelated quality to them. Your health affects your finances. Your relationships affect your estate planning choices. Your career can affect your mental and physical health. Your emotional intelligence can affect the discernment of making wise choices in all aspects of this human experience. And so that's what it's so great about what you do in health. Because I think maybe of all the aspects, health may be the most important aspect. Because if you don't have your health, you're not going to be able to enjoy this human experience that we're all here to have. And so tell me a little bit about your background and what inspired you to do the kind of work that you're doing today.
Yeah, I think, it's a little bit less about what inspired me, but who inspired me.
Mm,
And my mom had a big piece in me, doing more holistic nutrition. So she was diagnosed with cancer many years ago. She was really young when she was 42. And so I started to, really start to look into, I don't know, why she got
mhm,
cancer. And I just really wanted to help people. So that's what I did. So I'm a holistic nutrition
mhm.
expert, and I specialize in oncology. But I also think it's so important to also talk about prevention for all of us. So we don't have to have cancer to start working on this,
Right.
our health. And so I work with people one on one. Most people have cancer or have had cancer. I work remote, so I work with people all over the country, but also the world, which is really neat.
Right.
I love being kind of beamed into other people's lives and their cultures and their families. And, we go deep. And I love what you said earlier, Jai, about the silo. Like wealth doesn't happen in a silo, health doesn't happen in a silo. So we look at all these other systems too. So you're
Mhm,
looking at these 8 aspects, and we're looking at these different systems of the body. So
mhm.
it's not only about what we eat, it's about how we're living. How are we moving? How are we digesting? How is our immune system? What's our environment like? What's our mental, emotional, spiritual well-being like?
Mhm.
That's huge. So it's very holistic.
Well, you've been doing this for over 20 years.
Mm,
And so what you were just describing, though, is the terrain approach to what you do
mhm. Yeah.
when you're looking at the environment. And so I think, still in our culture today, I would have to think that most people, which, by the way, in the United States, from what I know, correct me if I'm wrong, that 41% of Americans will, at some point in their life, be diagnosed with cancer, some form of cancer. And so most people, I think, assume that they get cancer because they inherited it. and that they couldn't do anything about it. And so then they go and take the traditional preventions for that, which usually is just treating the symptoms. But in reality, from what I understand, it's really our environment that creates our diseases, all chronic diseases. In fact, 90% of them are created by either what we put in our mouth through nutrition, what we're thinking in our minds, and what we're absorbing through our lungs and our skin through our environment. That's what's the cause, the root cause of all of these diseases, and it's not the gene. And so, but what most traditional methods do are they're treating the symptoms and never getting to the root cause. And so that's how many people with their diseases, they may have a temporary remission, or they've perhaps removed some part of their body only for years later that to come back because the root cause was never solved. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, while genetics for some cancers or other disease, there can be a very strong genetic component. However, it's not the biggest component. I believe it's about lifestyle, like what you just said, right? It's about the environment that we're in. And I think we have a lot more control over our genetics than we're led to believe. So that's where we talk about this sort of epigenetic picture, right? Turning certain genes on and off. So while someone may have, like, use diabetes, for instance, some people may have a more propensity to or risk factor for diabetes, but there's so much they can do to keep that from happening.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people don't understand. It's like, well, it's in my genes. I'm just going to end up with that thing. Not true. There's a lot we can do, and that's empowerment, and that's what we're all about. How can we empower people to make a difference in their health, in their everyday, in their life, in their relationships, in their wealth, all of these things? We get to help people see the light and like what we get to do, and
Right.
that's exciting.
Yeah, because all we're having to do with any of these issues, whether it's health or lifestyle, is revolves around removing these blocks that created these unfortunate things that happen in our life. And once you remove the blocks with your health, your body has infinite intelligence to heal itself. You can
Yes.
talk to it, that will help it too. But without talking to it, it's going to heal itself if you've removed that block. And that's actually the exciting medicine, I think, in the world. And of course, food is our medicine. And yet, for people who begin to realize this and they come to professionals like you and get the guidance, what I also know is it's really tough even for people who know the right things to do to implement that in a pure way. Because from what I've learned from you and Metabolic Train Institute for Health, is that we basically ruined our soil system in the United States. Less than 4%, I think, is nutrient dense soil. And many of those, that percentage of the good soil is already bought up by 5-star restaurants that are wanting to have food that has taste to it. But basically, from what I'm sensing, is that we're growing food that's just tastes like cardboard.
A lot of the time.
And so, can you talk about how not only do you set up a nutritional plan, but how you guide people to the right sources for this medicine?
Yeah, I think first it's awareness. So it's having conversations like these so we can understand that. I think it's also doing the best we can do. I think that's really important. So meeting people where they are. There are people that are in a food desert. They don't have much available. So how do we make a difference for everyone? Right?
Mhm.
We're really blessed. We're in a place where we might be able to get higher quality food. That's great. I can go to the farmers market on Saturdays and I can be pretty assured that my food quality is going to be a lot better than what it might be at the market. Then what markets do you have around? So it can be a challenge. Again, it's awareness first, understanding that. But we can always, I always say we can always probably do a little bit better, but it's not about perfection because that's just going to make us crazy and it's not going to work. So yeah, but I was just at a farm recently in Kansas, and it's so wonderful to see people actually doing the hard work of using, I don't know, not using a lot of the toxic things, using soil that actually is very rich, animals that are eating off the land. That's super
Hmm.
important. I know I'm
Hmm.
going off on a tangent, but we are what we eat
Yep.
and we are what our food eats. So, what is the quality of the food that you're putting in your body? Being aware of that is really
Right.
important and doing the best you
Right.
can.
You know, I look at magazine photos of real estate and residential sections and lawns, and I look at those and I go, why aren't there gardens in those front yards or in the backyards? I mean, we can take responsibility for ourselves. And what's really sad is many communities wouldn't be able to do that even if they wanted to because of the homeowners association not allowing them to do that. But we really need to start taking this factor into present mind and implementing these things and taking control and responsibility for them.
Well, and if you were to think back to, you know, I'll use an example. I was at a dinner party and a conversation came up about gardens. It's like how many people right now have gardens versus how many people had gardens 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Most people did back then,
Mhm.
not anymore in
Right.
their backyard. It's not done as
Yeah.
much. And I hope that we're getting back to that.
Right.
There's a lot of community gardens, which is really neat. So in our town in Colorado, there's this beautiful community garden. We have a lot of deer in our area, and it's very hot, dry. For me, I don't have access to a garden. I won't do this year, but next year I will get one of those garden plots.
Hmm.
And it's awesome. And then people are trading. They're like, hey, I've got this. Hey, you want to trade for this? It's really
Right.
cool. They irrigate it all
Mhm.
and they have massive fences that will keep the deer out. So it's an option.
Well, we get 60 trillion new cells every 7 years. We get most of those after 1 year.
Mhm.
So we're always regenerating new growth. And so if we're feeding our bodies the right nutrients, we have a way to restoring ourselves back to perfect health. You know, my dad uh, smoked from age 17 to 59. He finally quit cold turkey when his mother died. He had always promised her that he would, but he didn't while she was alive. But when she passed away, he quit cold turkey. He worked around asbestos for 30 years with his work. And when he retired at 59 and a half, he had been having one of these gardens in the backyard of our home for many years, but he leased an acre of land down the street and farmed that acre of land for the next 30 years. So he lived to almost age 91. He had COPD when he retired from smoking, asbestos, but through those years, through that regeneration of his body with organic vegetables, he healed himself naturally. He removed the causes of those diseases. And so, what's so important about what your work, and for people who may be listening to this, you are a specialist in cancer nutrition. But as you pointed out earlier, this way of our nutrition is for the already healthy, so that you will prevent yourself, at least from a nutritional standpoint, of ever having cancer. Now, we can get cancer from other sources, but at least from the nutritional part, you've limited that from being possible.
Yeah, I think it's really powerful and we also can do so much. So if someone has, say they have cancer, they go into remission, now the job is once again prevention. So how do we prevent that from coming back? And so doing the best we can from a food perspective is so important, I believe. And also all those other terrains that you mentioned. So when I'm working with someone, I'm coaching them on how to minimize exposure to certain toxins in your environment, how to lower your inflammation. Yes, we can do that with diet. Very wonderful foods to help lower inflammation. Inflammation, we were just talking about turmeric earlier. So there's a lot of things we can do. We can help the immune system. So if we're working with gut health, one thing that happens if someone's going through, well, and even if they've not had cancer, a lot of people deal with poor like dysbiosis or gut health. That is critical
Mhm.
for health, right? So how do we improve gut health? If we know that the immune system lies in the gut, most of it. If the gut is happy, so is the immune system.
Mhm.
That's huge.
Mhm.
So there's so much we can do from a health perspective. Whether someone has had cancer before, maybe they have a lot of cancer in their family, maybe they've been exposed to a lot of toxins in their life. What can we do to improve their terrain,
Right.
that garden of the
Right.
body?
So if you still have this candida, the bad bacteria still in
Mhm.
your gut, and you're eating all these good nutrients, it's
Mhm.
not going to go to all the extreme
Mhm.
parts of your bodies and cells the way that it should, because this candida is preventing them getting there. And so the gut health is the starting point, right,
Huge.
for
Mhm.
this, so that it can fully absorb what you're putting into your body.
Well, and remember, the gut will absorb nutrients. It helps absorb good nutrients and it also helps waste. So we're getting rid of toxins, and that's hugely important. So we have a lot of people who are not hydrated. They aren't going to the bathroom very often at all. It's kind of scary. Or they have maybe the other issue where it's too quick through. So that is, I mean, it's huge. It's so much of our health, our gut health.
So
So
what does the landscape look like for someone who gets cancer? I guess there's a lot of different paths people are taking, but one of the majority of the paths is they go to their oncologist. They find out they have cancer. Then what? Does the oncologist then bring in this team that you're talking about? Or many times are they left there on their own to figure out, hey, maybe I need to think about my nutrition. Maybe I need to think about my environment of where I live, that maybe, I'm living next to a power plant, or maybe I'm living next to a golf course and I'm breathing in all this pesticides.
yeah.
So what does the landscape look like for someone who finds out that uh, they're positive with cancer in some form?
Yeah, every single person is different, and there's a lot of great resources out there. What we do, we wouldn't be an oncologist is not very likely to refer to us, the holistic nutrition team, but they might go to a dietitian, and that would be through the facility, which is fine. And I believe that from a holistic nutrition, my training is in dietetics and food science. And I think there's a big place for dietitians, but I also think that we can do a little bit more holistically. So we're again looking at all these different things: exercise, sleep, the toxins, and they're probably more working on what that person can or cannot eat while they're undergoing treatment, which there's a lot of help in that. So I don't want to disregard any of that, but what we do is much more, again, holistic, more sort of maybe outside of the medical world, a little bit more integrative.
Mhm.
That's a good word for it.
Mhm.
So yeah, so they would the issue is the patient or the client, the person who has maybe received a diagnosis. It's on them. And so like it's finding your power in you and advocating for yourself and putting your team around you. And hopefully you have more of an integrative oncology doctor. Maybe it's a naturopath. We often are connectors in our work, so we're helping people find their people. Maybe it's an acupuncturist. Maybe it's, who knows what else, massage. There's all kinds of great things. Reiki, I love. Nutrition.
And you're a Reiki master.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I hear you saying though, and you did say that, but I think people need to hear it again. It's going to be super important to build your team as soon as you find that you're diagnosed with cancer. Build that team
Yeah.
that's going to give you the best chances for 100% healing.
Yeah. And know that you're at the center of the team. So you're the one that's driving the ship. Maybe find a quarterback to help you do that, whoever that is, but make sure you have chosen your team around you, and it takes time. And I think that's something that's often presented to us if we receive a diagnosis. It's like, okay, let's go. People are like, get this out of me, cut it out of me, do the things. And it's like, okay, let's take some breaths, get centered,
Mhm.
and start thinking about you don't have to choose what you're doing tomorrow most of the time.
Um, Before we go, just share with me maybe one or two quick stories, success stories of what you've experienced in working with some people that had cancer, and they went from having the cancer to being completely healed
Mm.
from a naturopathic standpoint.
Gosh, yeah, there's so many beautiful stories. I often tell the story about a boy, a young boy who had cancer, and I just, I adored him. I adored his family. and he's still doing wonderfully. Once a year, I reach out and wish him a happy birthday, and he just had such a great attitude, and his parents were so beautiful the way they went through the process with him. He was on the calls with us. So it was mom, dad, and the kiddo showing up. He didn't stay for all of the boring conversations, but I'll never forget we did talk about poop quite a bit with him, and it was fun because kids love to talk about it. And one time he showed up to a call with this poop emoji, the emojis hat on his head, and it was just so sweet. So I really get to spend probably most of like the time as a practitioner or a coach or a guide than the doctors do, than the nurses do, than you, the naturopathic doctor. Like
Mhm.
I spend a lot of time with people because I'm able to. I'm not on that quick, like I'm coming into the doctor's office, and
Right.
it's beautiful. So I get to really, yeah, reach people in a different way.
And you're um, sharing the story of the young boy reminds me of the information I've been hearing lately, and that is through the decades now. I mean, it used to be that if you went into a cancer clinic, it was usually older people in there, but now there's all ages in there. And so it should just go to show to everyone it's really about our environment that we're exposed to that's creating these conditions in our body.
Well, and remember, it's the exposure of a lot of different things. Sure, it's environmental exposures and toxins and all of that, but it's also exposures to this go, go, go place that we're all in now. It's
Stress.
stress. It's we're not growing our own food. We're move, 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 convenience, convenience, convenience. So we're eating in the car. We're, you know, on our phones nonstop. We've got electronics, EMFs all around us. It's just a different time.
Right.
And so when those blocks that you talked about to healing, like we've added a lot of blocks to our process. And I don't know what to do about that
Right.
exactly. Um, and I think again, awareness and doing the best we can.
Well, it's just becoming aware of your choices.
Mhm. Yeah.
And we can control those.
Mhm.
We're not a victim of our circumstances. We're a product of our choices. Um, and so I know part of your work is guided by the metabolic approach to cancer.
It is.
And
It's my favorite book.
you want to say anything about it
Sure.
and the authors? Because I know
Yes,
Dr.
please.
Nasha Winters quite well, and she does amazing work, and her story is amazing.
It is. So the book, The Metabolic Approach to Cancer, I've heard so many people say like this is my Bible to cancer. And they have introduced this to their oncologists. It's really neat. So the authors, Dr. Nasha Winters and Jess Higgins, Jess was the founder actually of Remission Nutrition. I'm the owner of Remission Nutrition, so I took over the business from her several years ago, and she's just phenomenal. So she co-wrote with Dr. Nasha Winters.
Mhm.
Jess is also an oncology nutrition consultant and owner of a school which I'm a advisor on. It's Oncology Nutrition Institute. So
Right.
she trains ONCs, clever oncology nutrition consultants. And I was the first one to come out of her program and then started working with her. I was lucky enough. And Dr. Nasha is fabulous and has, yes, a beautiful story. And she wrote the book. She's a naturopathic doctor and focuses on oncology, and she's just tremendous. I've learned so much from both of these amazing women, and this book is great. It digs into the different terrains, which we call buckets or systems of the body. Yeah, and so it's a great book, and I recommend it for everyone. And again, it's not just, and we don't only work with people who have cancer. It's really important to
Right.
think about this before we get that
Exactly.
diagnosis, because as you said, it's quite common.
Well, I have this book. This book is how many pages?
Mhm,
362 or so pages.
mhm.
I didn't read any of the pages, but I listened to every word on the audiobook,
Yeah, that's
and
good
I
too.
loved it during my
Mhm.
my weekday walks.
Yep, that's
And
perfect.
I learned so much about our bodies and what we're putting in our mouth from this.
Yeah, it's
And
wonderful.
it's an encyclopedia that everybody should have in their house. Yeah.
Well, and I often say to people, it's one of our questions, right, on our intake. Have you read The Metabolic Approach to Cancer? Whether they have or not, it's fine because I say, I'm your book. So I'm going to turn this book into a very specialized, individualized conversation about your health. So we're going to talk about all the things in that book in a very different way because it's about you.
Right. Right.
Mhm. It's me.
Well, this has been amazing. Wonderful having you
John,
here in
thanks for
Jupiter
having me.
today. And we're so blessed. We're so blessed to have you on our team as well. And so if anybody's watching this and they're curious about how do I find Jen, you can find Jen, first of all, from our website, www.luminouswealth.com. And you can hit the drop down bar and find our team, and you'll find Jen there and her bio, and actually a little video of you on your team page profile. But what are the other ways that someone might be able to reach you?
Yes, you can look at remissionnutrition.com and we have Instagram, all the different socials. And we've done some really great blog articles. There's a lot of really wonderful, rich, free information on our website. So I encourage you to go check that out. Done a bunch of different podcast interviews and mini classes and things. So do check that out. We also have a course it's like $33 on our website on mindfulness and mindful eating. And I think that's a beautiful way to just learn a little bit more about how to eat mindfully, being really present. There's a couple of meditations that are so good that we've created. So that's kind of
Right.
fun too. Yeah.
No, so I know why now. When I went to Dr. Deepak Chopra retreats and we would have our dinners and lunches, it would be in silence. Yeah, being present with the energy you're bringing into your body.
The
Yeah,
gratitude.
yeah.
Oh, I just got goosebumps. It's true.
Yeah. Thanks again.
Thank you.
And thanks for listening to this segment today. Have a great day.